we go. Sort of. You know, when things want to go their way, they want to go their way. But we will make them change.
We don't need Presley, we have you. You can
That's
start.
exactly right.
I got it. I can stand. The engine is on the way.
Get it.
Get in hell. Here we go.
Here we go.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, walk on, hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never, ever walk alone. Walk on with a hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never, ever walk alone.
Thank you, Julio. I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today. He has been out here for quite some time as a certified media and theater in the organization and a teacher. He travels quite a bit to promote spiritualism throughout the United States and around the world. So I'd like to bring out Joy Sagar.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I hope we're all starting with a Happy New Year. Thank you for participating in the music and the song. It's a little bit of an unusual cue to the service, but it's all spirit-led. So before we get into the conversation, I would like to remind everybody that I speak from the heart, and these words are just as much for me as or for you. And as the conversation talk goes along, we'll all discover what this is all about. So thank you for being here. So as in preparation to the conversation for today, somewhere the tone was set at the end of last year. Julio assisted in the music, and it was an unusual service, and just in the fold of that, this conversation was already sort of set in tone with the first hymn or the song that we chose to sing today. It is a very nice, powerful song, as we reflect on that, because we are always in the beginning of our lives every day with every breath. So this is a sense of curiosity, because it's where do we define the new year based on the calendar that has given us January 1st, or just today in this very moment could be the new year. You know, it's a very much of a contemplation to where life is. But the song that came along right before this talk was very powerfully given, and that phrase alone had turned my life a few years back, sitting in my own solitude in my space, wondering where life is, and all I heard was, you're never alone. And beautifully the song came through in an inspiration. And as you reflect on these words, are we really ever alone? Something to think about, something to contemplate. And finding this religion of spiritualism in 2003 and moving up into this point, the discovery in closely working with the deceased loved ones that are passed on, the guides, the higher beings, and knowledge and wisdom of all different forms has just been such an integrated part. But what about you and your understanding? Do you ever find yourself alone? You know, we all talk about the time prior to the holidays. It is such a high pressure time to fulfill with gifts and belongings and sharing and giving that life sometimes becomes too big. And it has been historically has found to be a very not so great time for a lot of people, and we see a lot of choices that people make that are not kind towards themselves. But nonetheless, the question again is, are we ever alone? We really not truly are, right? We all have a family, we have a genetic link somewhere. Some of us are very fortunate to know where our family and the genetic is. And perhaps there are some in this congregation and those that will listen to this talk later on would understand we don't really know our genetic links, but we are still have been blessed by a sense of family within our own experience. So we work through that part of the process. In this country itself, we say we are all immigrants in some form. We migrated from some space, some culture that is not natively here, but some of us do share native genes to this land as well there. So within that concept of understanding, are we truly, really ever alone? I just keep asking this question to myself on an ongoing basis, because here's the beauty. On a genealogy level, we all have to be at some point face the inevitable part of the process called death and dying. We have to all go through that chamber. And in this past year, how you have come along, where have you experienced death and dying? Is there a family member that you've lost? Is there a friend that you've lost? Have you seen death and dying in this past year in some way, shape, or form? And we think in terms of losing a human family member, but we do have pets that are just as family to us, right? Mm-hmm. And we have people that are not genetically connected to us, which we call friends, become our extended family. And we do go through losing those beautiful additions to our lives through the process of death and dying. So we keep separating these layers of the onion to where we are. At some point we'll find ourselves, everything falls apart. Everybody that we know, love, care about dissipates to the other side of life, and we are just living by ourselves in just one human body. Are we really truly alone at that point? And this is where the beautiful part of the journey is. We're truly really not alone. What about the plants that are still with us? Because this universe, this world is a living organism. There's so much more to be. The ground that you stand on breathes life. Do you still find yourself to be alone? The memories of our family members that have left us here, they have left us with beautiful memories that connect on an earthly level, leaving their impressions, their energies in the fold of our existence. We truly are not alone. I have been blessed to have known some beautiful teachers that are now in the spirit world. They have left me with their vibration and their knowledge, allowing me to feel their presence through my own mediumistic mind, through my own spiritualist belief system, that there is an afterlife, and somewhere in that plane of existence, they are still a part of me. Thus, another question, do I still really feel myself alone? Obviously, not everybody that we come in contact with has left us with the kindest of impressions, right? Not every experience is a kind of experience, but still, within the unkind memories or the unkind experiences, are we truly ever alone? So as long as we are taking our cognitive abilities, our memories with us, we truly cannot say that we are alone, because we have all that embraces us. Unless you really, really work to find your true sense of self and purpose. A journey of a parent isn't ever alone. Some of us are blessed to have children. Some of us are blessed not to have children. It's just in the ideal perspective how we embrace that thought, right? But at the same point, we have to understand, are we truly ever alone? Because somewhere we find communities. So anybody that is an artist, through their own understanding and love of art, find an artistic community. Right? Somebody is in Red Hatter Society, they find their own community. Somebody is in the speaking clubs, they find their community. We all have the ability to find communities. You know, like they say, your vibe attracts your tribe. Very true. Wherever your frequency is, you attract those sort of frequencies, and you create the communities that you resonate with. And within that resonance, do you ever find yourself alone? Right? Mm-hmm. So all this disappears. Just imagine, if you want to close your eyes, if you want to just imagine to understand billions of stars and galaxies out there. There is life through the power of the vibration resonating in there in some way, shape, or form. Are you still finding yourself alone? We are truly, truly blessed to have the cognitive ability to understand where life is. There's a piece of board, a nail, and a hammer. And if you have to drive the nail into the board, well, what do you need? Well, a hammer is really not driving the nail on itself. You have to use your intelligence. In the Lyceum, we talked about intelligence and how the intelligence moves certain concepts of life, and is always like that. So life is going through all those processes. So 2019 has gone. We're stepping into 2020, and even more so into the new decade. And where are we moving into this new part of life? Where are we moving into the new phase of life? How are we understanding? Are we wanting to carry on the community that we created in this time period of our lives? But to understand, life runs on cycles, as once again was discussed in our Lyceum. So if you were there, you would have understood a little bit in depth. Everything is a cycle. So there's a beautiful quote that I probably am paraphrasing. What a caterpillar calls an end is a new beginning of a butterfly's life cycle. Right? So where we are, no matter where we sit today, no matter what we have created about ourselves, we have the ability to say, this is a part of my life I really don't like about. I have the ability to terminate that understanding and the knowledge and awareness and start something new that you probably are really wanting to reach out for. Right? To understand the possibility of new beginning is always there. We are all sitting here, and this is something a little more biological than to be used, but through a cycle of life comes by ending one cycle and a beginning of another cycle. It's just how that is. There's an end of one cycle, starts a whole new life process in another way, shape, and form. It's just a biological thing, and most of us understand how that process is. But to understand, You have to understand, if you're really wanting to make changes in this year or this next phase of your life, starting today, you have that ability within yourself to shift and move things along. The beautiful understanding of my journey in spiritualism has been to come close to the choice of free will and free choice. We all have that. However, we work within a community. We have to comply by certain community standards. And within those community standards comes like what is mine and what is not mine. And we have to understand how to separate that awareness. But yet, we never lose the free will and free choice. Over the 16 years of my work life, I always preached, if you don't like something, do something about it. You just can't sit there and want things to happen, just like the nail is not driving itself in the board. You will have to take a deliberate action with a complete intent of knowing where you're wanting to go to be able to change things and the outcome that you're wanting from life. So we always have a choice. So if I don't like where I am, I would probably try to see if I can make things better. And if they're not responding to the way it's supposed to be, I would rather make a change. I would rather take a step. So deliberate action leads to some profound results. So anybody that is in pursuit of a good health will have to take deliberate steps that allow us to experience good health. Same thing goes with our mindsets. If we understand that our mindsets are not productive, we're not doing things that we are wanting to do with our life, we have to do something about the way we think, the way we feel, and so on. So if you're having a bad day on an average given day, do you change the frequency of the day just by sitting in that not feeling so good frequency or energy? We have to take those little small steps and little steps that lead us to feel good about certain outcomes and situations. The human intelligence within our bodies know what is right for us. You have to know your own compass. And this is another part of spiritualism that has sort of brought me close, because I have enjoyed to learn to think for myself. And primarily I have to learn to see where my own compass is. Do I feel good with it? Does it sit well with me? Is it in alignment with what I believe and understand? We're all unique individuals. And the religion of spiritualism comes from a lot of free thinkers. So when there are a lot of free thinkers, they tend not to agree with each other all the time because we have the ability to think for ourselves. But the compass still allows us to feel where the fulcrum is. Do we feel good about it? Do we not feel good about it? And this is where you can palpate. This is where I said the energy of this place is not so much. I have the ability to bow out politely and go somewhere where I resonate with, or this energy is uplifting me and I need to be there a little bit more into that aspect of life. So 2019, a decade has finished. What do you feel good about? Yesterday, just somewhere impromptu, ended up watching the movie The Bucket List. So we'll talk about that just in a moment. So where you sit today in the last year or the last decade, did you have anything on your bucket list that you wanted to accomplish? Did you accomplish it? I think some of us did. And some of us are still in pursuit of creating a bucket list. So we still have those formulations in our mind, but where we are, where have you been in the last 10 years and where you are today? Are you the same person that you were in the beginning of the last decade? Are you different? Are you better? Are you worse? How do you feel about yourself is the only key element that you need to be really true. What I feel about anything outside of me is a choice. But what is within me is a choice also. So you get to choose how you feel about a certain situation or outcome. So there were two questions in that movie that Morgan Freeman asked Jack Nicholson. I don't remember the character's name, but I know who the actors were. So Morgan Freeman asked Jack Nicholson, have you experienced true joy in your life? So, name is Joy, but this is not a wordplay. But the thought is, have you experienced true joy in your life? And to understand that the joy is not just a thing or an experience, it's a state of being. Because joy is more permanent and more profound than being in a state of happiness. And within that happiness, we create a lot of things. The great new beginnings are either coming from suffering, pain, and anger, or they're coming out of joy, happiness, and pleasure. Two polarities in life creates great things and great outcomes. So to understand where that part of the process is, maybe that question needs to be in the forefront of this year. In the next 10 years, am I truly allowing myself to make choices that lead me to experience the true joys that are mandated or they're already there for me? Do I continue to grow within that, or do I choose to go with the flow, which is a beautiful thing? But sometimes they say if we have a deliberate outcome plan, we take deliberate actions. But is the outcome that we're setting our eyes on, does it bring us true joy? And that would be the question. And that is the question I keep asking myself every time I step into these shoes to work as a medium or as a spiritualist, or some days just being a simple human being. At the end of the day, I have to sit down and address myself. How did my day go? How did I do today? Sometimes I'm very sure-footed, and sometimes like I could have done something better. I could have approached situations differently. But I always keep myself on this little chopping block. In some ways, it keeps me on the edge. Like, there's something more to it. As a mediums, you would understand if anybody has the ability to connect with family members that are passed on and others otherwise, as you choose to understand the afterlife. You have to understand we step in the shoes of responsibility with each and every setting or a session that we sign up for. And those shoes come with bigger responsibilities because what we are sharing with our clients and our sitters comes through a heavy door of responsibility. And you have to understand that it becomes our prerogative as practicing professionals to know that what we're doing is the right thing to do, and also to know that the person that is sitting in front of us is there for something more that they are really wanting. So I talk about a professional environment, but this happens. Somebody that you came with here today, how are you feeling about yourself and what is going to leave somebody else with? Just like in our meditation, we talk about the vibration that we feel here has existed and have been accumulated over many years. And what you left here today as your imprint dictates how the next person that takes this chair feel about this place and this space. So how are we wanting to plan our next decade? This is a question that I would encourage each and everyone to take with us. On a personal level, on a family level, on a society level, on a community level, how are you wanting to see your next decade to look like? So in the journey of the next 10 years, if you ever find yourself that it's too much, life is too big, and you're doing things by yourself, just know that you're never alone. Our spirit loved ones, our family members, our guides, our teachers, our higher beings, and the divinity itself is always present within us to experience that beautiful, beautiful, powerful beings that we are. The whole galaxy, the whole universe resides within us. We can feel the frequencies should we allow to understand that we are never alone. So my humble request to you is to think about something today or in this coming week. What are the things that you're wanting to create in your life that brings you true sense of joy? And my joy resides alone in saying, I am never alone, and neither are you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. During our musical interlude, our ushers will receive your offering We thank you in advance for your generosity. Our music interlude today will be performed by Julio Varela.
Over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that we dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find